Good morning. I'm Herb Heathcote. I'm the Cedars treasurer. As a board member, I welcome everybody. We greatly appreciate all of the members who work on setup and takedown, and we would like to be able to invite them to join us in the coffee hour after the service so they can join in the socialization. So, starting today, for 15 minutes after the service, we will delay all takedown for 15 minutes so that the people who are doing the setup and the sound and everything can join us. Thank you. Next Sunday, on May 15th, there will be a special collection for the Peaceful Morning Farm. This is a local organic farm on Bainbridge Island. It's run entirely with volunteer labor. The mission is to help those in need, promote healthy eating, and foster awareness of sustainable agriculture. So that's next Sunday. Also next Sunday, after the service, the fundraising committee will be hosting a spring raffle featuring 7 fabulous prizes. Tickets will be sold that morning for $10 each, and winners will be drawn at the end of the coffee hour. And finally, on Tuesday, May 17th at 7 p.m. by using Zoom, Autumn Salamak, the City of Bainbridge Island's climate officer, will share with Cedars and Grace Church what the city is doing to address climate change and what we can do individually and as a group to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. For more details, you can see the beacon or contact Mike Cox, who's the chair of the city's Climate Change Advisory Committee. One more. Reverend Zachary will be away from Cedars from May 5th to May 25th. Thank you. May 15th.
Good morning. My name is Nancy Phillip, and I'm pleased to be serving as worship associate this morning alongside our minister, Zachary Vinson, Reverend Zachary Vinson. Thank you, as always, to the sound team, the tech team, and the setup team for turning this elementary school gymnasium into a sacred worship space. Happy Mother's Day. To those who become mothers by careful planning or by chance. To those who forego motherhood altogether, to those who know that motherhood is a joy, a challenge, an honor, and above all, a choice. Happy Mother's Day to all who know, as I do, that choice equals health care, equals human rights, equals equality. Happy Mother's Day. Before we move further into our service, let's pause to acknowledge that members of our congregation occupy the ancestral and traditional and contemporary lands of the Coast Salish tribes, the homelands of the Suquamish, Duwamish, Klallam, and Chimicum. People were ceded under duress through the Point Elliott and Point No Point treaties. We affirm an indigenous sovereignty both past and present. This acknowledgement does not substitute for the need to build authentic relationships with modern-day members of these tribes and to learn about their living culture and history. Cedars is committed to being a welcoming and inclusive community. In the beauty of languages, cultures, and skin tones that come together in your uniqueness, we welcome you. In all the ways you experience and express gender, in the beauty of who and how you love, we welcome you. With all the religious and ethical traditions that inform your spiritual life, we welcome you. You are invited to join us today and always with an open mind, a loving heart, and willing hands. Now, let us settle in and prepare for the service by listening to the prelude, Petrichor, composed and performed by Dennis O'Rourke.
Well, hello. Fancy meeting all of you here. I'm curious, by a show of hands, how many of you have spent time in your life considering the role that nature versus nurture has played? Has that a question you've ever thought about? Nature or nurture? Me too. I think it's something we all think about, but I didn't want to assume. I have spent a lot of time thinking about this question in my life. So I have 4 sisters, one of 5 kids, and those of us who know myself and any one of my sisters, oftentimes from different contexts, when they find out that we are brothers and sisters, are struck. First off, just physically, most of my sisters, we look very differently. They all dye their hairs crazy colors or black, or I'm also quite a bit taller than all of them, by like good 8 inches in some cases. And so you see us, we don't necessarily look the same. We don't necessarily act the same. And yet we all grew up in the same home and for the most part had the same parental experience, give or take some different dynamics. And yet despite the nurture, the context in which we grew up in, we all are very different from one another. So I wonder, what is nature and what is nurture? What is just inherent in who I am, and what is a product of my own environment, the context I live in? So I was thinking about this, and throughout my life, as this has come up, I've really come to the point that I think that it is a combination of both nature and nurture. Big surprise. As I've explored in the last few weeks, I believe that the things we experience in our life shape our worldview. They give us the metaphors that we use to give our life meaning. So as I've been thinking about this and the mix between nature and nurture, as I often do, I turn to the natural world to ground my thoughts. Each of you should have received, or should be readily available, a small pot of soil. This week, when I was exploring this theme with our worship associates, Johanna helped kind of come up with the idea, and Nancy has helped me pull the service together. We were thinking about what are the things that, the components to nurture. Our nature comes to us naturally, but what are the components to nurture? And we thought about plants. And we realized that, well, in order to be nurtured, you need a place to belong. Belonging is a theme that we've been exploring over the last year at Cedars. Those of you who have taken part in the Belonging Initiative, trying to explore what does it mean to belong to a community, to have a space, a physical place you can be in the world. Beyond the space, you need some nutrients of some kind. You need some soil. You need some fertilizer. You need some compost. You need space and nutrients. These are 2 things that I think are important to nurturing. So I'd like to invite you each to take your pot of soil, to hold it in your hands, to maybe close your eyes. You see, maybe smell it. Look at it. Maybe feel it a little, feel the moisture. And think about your own life. Think about those places where you have been given a container and space. What has that been like? Think about the times when you've been given nutrients, when you've been given soil, something to sink your roots in. What has that been like for you? Let this soil be an object of your contemplation in this service as we continue to explore what it means to nurture each other. But before I do that, I'd like to create our space together by lighting the flame of our chalice. Johanna, if you would come forward. And if you would join me in reciting our chalice affirmation, which is printed in our order of service. As we come together to worship, we remind ourselves to treat all people kindly because we are one family, to take good care of the earth, because it is our home, and to live lives full of love and goodness, because that is how we will all become the best that we can be. Thank you. And now if we would don our singing regalia, our masks, and join together in singing our opening hymn this morning, hymn number 1064, Blue Boat Home.
All right. And you may rise as you are willing and able. We're going to be led in by our performer, Dennis O'Rourke. Dennis, whenever you're ready. Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor nor port have I known. The universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, on this starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, what have I known? The universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Hello, everyone. My name's Archer, and I am the Faith Formation Lead / music coordinator here. And a couple weeks ago, we planted a garden here in this gymnasium. If you weren't here, it wasn't your normal type of garden. It was a sound garden. Now, back then, we just had to plant some sound seeds and see what grew. Nothing was going to grow that day, but we really made those seeds work. I'd like everyone to check under their seats or around their seats and see if there are any rhythm seeds that have grown into anything. I see a couple jingly leaves out there. I see maybe a snake rattling somewhere. I don't know. He didn't grow here, but he's here now. So I'd like to see how this rhythm garden has developed, and I want us to explore kind of how this rhythm garden is doing. So I'm going to start by, of course, beating the soil. And just explore your produce. Some rain. Ooh. 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 Wonderful. I think we could take this to the farmer's market. What do you think? Yeah? Okay. We have a pretty good garden here. I think we're going to keep an eye on this and see how we grow. Thank you all.
Please join me in a spirit of prayer. Let's start by taking a breath, breathing in and out, opening ourselves to this moment and to each other, the connection we share, the whole web of life. Spirit of life, be with us this day. Help us to open to the possibility of hope when the world feels hopeless. Help us deepen our commitment to one another and to the important struggles for justice that we are called to. In this time when bad news is followed by bad news, let us be good news to one another. Let our presence be a gift. Let our time together be nurturing. Let us be like an oasis in a world that is like the desert. Alone, things are hard and challenging, and together they're not any easier or less challenging, but there is more possibility. Together, there is more possibility. Help us feel that possibility this day and in the week ahead. May it be so.
Dennis. As you know, our faith community is sustained by the generosity of our members and friends. Your contributions help nourish the spiritual growth of our community through weekly worship and ongoing programs that cultivate connection, belonging, sharing, and caring. If you are visiting for the first time, please feel free to let the baskets pass you by. You are our guest, and we are happy simply that you are with us. Will the ushers please come forward to collect the offering? Thank you. Nurturing, making soup and exchanging tokens. I'm reading a book titled Turn This World Inside Out, The Emergence of a Nurturance Culture by Nora Samaran. In the book, she outlines two different styles of nurturance, the token exchanging style and the soup making style. Let me explain. I know you're probably familiar with the two different styles. The token exchanging thought process goes like this. When someone does a nice thing for me, I have a token that I now owe to them. And a lot of people think this way. I think it's pretty common. A lot of people automatically keep a tally of the things that they do in a relationship and the things that the other person does in the same relationship in an attempt to keep the scales of that relationship balanced. So, seems like a good idea at first, but the idea of keeping a relationship even, well, eventually the balance will tip and the focus will come away from the relationship and kind of get into, well, how do we get this thing even again? How do we restore equanimity? And then resentments may start to rise, and it actually ends up weakening and jeopardizing the original connection. So Samaran talks about this other model that describes nurturance as a community making soup. We all make a contribution to the collective soup as a community act. One person brings the carrots, another person brings the root vegetable, another one brings seasoning, another one the liquid base. And as the soup simmers over the course of many hours, it actually expands and creates a sense of collective achievement. And quite simply, makes everyone who participates in making this soup feel good. Everybody contributes, and the impulse to keep score kind of loses its relevance. Samaran writes, in this second model, the soup-making model, we do not lose or give away a token when we nurture others because the act of nurturing itself feels good. The people in my soup group are my soup friends. To nurture a member of my soup group creates closeness with them, creates emotional connection and intimacy, and over time, nurturing one another consistently creates trust and safety between us. These feelings, this pot of shared soup, is what we seek. Well, it's really easy for me to see that we at Cedars have been collectively making soup in one form or another for several decades. We remain a nurturing collective, expanding some, contracting some, but never losing sight of the benefit to the entire group. We don't keep score. We wouldn't get far if we did, I don't think. And we don't hold back when we think the give and take is uneven, because every contribution, large or small, brings a benefit to the whole. Samarin continues, "The miracle," said Leonard Nimoy, "is this: the more we share, the more we have." This is as true of nurturance as it is of soup ingredients. Everyone gains from the warm connection that results from interaction without debt, trust, and long-term commitment to the whole. Because giving nurturance to those you're close to is giving to yourself. The more we share, the more that we have, reminds me of a little song called Magic Penny. I'm not going to sing it, but I'm going to. I talked to Archer about singing it, but we don't have the rights. So, love is something, if you give it away, you end up having more. It's just like a magic penny. Hold it tight, and you won't have any. Lend it, spend it, and you'll have so many, they'll roll all over the floor. Love is something, if you give it away, you end up having more.
It feels appropriate that Nancy referenced that song, as Malvina Reynolds, who wrote and sung that song, was a Unitarian. And so it's also a song I'm familiar with from my days in preschool, I think. It was the same class where they made us pass the Barney doll, I think I told you all about a while ago. I like the song better. So we have our container. We have our nutrients. These are two things that I think are part of being nurtured. But another part of nurturing that makes it different than just pure nature, pure chance, is I think nurturing requires intention. It requires an impulse to be in relationship, to care for someone. Yes, there needs to be space and nutrients, but beyond that, there needs to be an intention to care. In terms of the metaphor here, I was thinking, well, what is the intention when I go out into my garden and nurture things? And oftentimes, my intention is to grow plants. And so that's what we're going to do. We are going to have what I'm calling a reverse offering, and we're all going to get some seeds now. And so in a moment, the ushers will come and bring some bowls of seeds out among you. And as they come to you, please take a seed or two and just plant it in there. Think about the intentions that you have, the things that you hope for, those things that you want to nurture in your life. And as we distribute the seeds, maybe Archer, could you do a little bit of drumming, please? We have our container, we have our nutrients, we have our intention. Another part of nurturing, and someone who is not a parent, I don't experience this as fully as some of you do, but part of nurturing is patience. And that's what I'm leaving all of you a chance to practice when you go forth today. A chance to practice patience waiting for the intention that you have placed into your container with the nutrients it needs, to care for it, to tend to it, to be patient, and to see what comes from your care. But before I send you out with all of that, I would like to invite us to join together in singing our second hymn of the day. It is hymn number 1017, Building a New Way. Your masks.
Rise as you are willing and able. We are going to go through this hymn 3 times. We will build, we will work, and we will feed our every need. And then we will end. And we will be led in by Dennis whenever you're ready. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free in the greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Hate and seed can feed our every need. All right. Thanks for singing, everyone.
Please rise as you are willing and able, and join me as we recite our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you. So each week in our benediction, I say our service is over and our service to the world and one another begins anew. And that's true. But today, I'd like to invite you all to offer a final blessing to each other. So, take your pot, turn to someone nearby, and exchange your pots. Part of being in community is helping each other tend to ourselves, to our community, to the things in our life. And so now that is your final lesson on nurturing today, as you go forth to care for each other, as you care for these plants.